Hi everyone, it's Nick with Build Up Advisory Group and it's Fast Build Fridays, a web series where we will quickly build what you know about infrastructure design in the nonprofit sector. Today's Fast Build topic is the relationship between compliance and programmatic strategy. Do I still have your attention? Just checking, because when people hear the word compliance, there's often a deep sigh or someone says, sure, that's important, but let's talk about compliance when we have a bit more information. We usually see compliance, and for these purposes, I mean legal and operations based compliance, as completely separate from the work. We don't often see a direct relationship between compliance and the impact an organization would like to have with its work. And I think we're doing that all wrong. Based on my experience with structuring nonprofit awards, partnerships, and strategies globally, I know that you need to have the quote unquote compliance conversation at the same time that you're thinking about programmatic strategy if you want to better ensure how consistently you show up for the communities you serve. To underscore this point, I want to share two critical areas of work that clearly highlight how compliance and programmatic strategy go hand in hand and how that relationship then impacts outcomes. The first area is in political campaign activity. We're just a few weeks away from a presidential election here in the United States, and many organizations are doing amazing work around the elections and in the political sphere, like working to motivate different communities to vote and ensuring that voices from these communities are heard and they're not invisibilized. Now, what if we're in an organization where programmatic strategies are created before discussing the political compliance considerations in this work? For example, let's say you create a strategy where you will hold town halls and write influencer blogs about an issue or a topic that's integral to the election, and you aren't referring to any political candidates or their particular stances on the issue. So you get the ball rolling on this campaign, it's gaining lots of buzz and support, and you start to pull in partners to help. It's going great. But only after all of this buzz and work do you then reach out to your compliance team. And you discover that you're actually engaged in impermissible issue advocacy and will have to write and convene about a completely different topic, change the entire tone of the campaign, or restructure the entire town hall in order to do it. Definitely a change in programmatic strategy. Now, this result could have been so different if there had been a conversation about both compliance and strategy when you were coming up with the idea, instead of considering compliance as an afterthought. If you don't get this relationship precisely right and interweave compliance into the way you're structuring your strategy or campaign, you could potentially create an erroneous campaign that can't move forward. You need to get this balance right because you don't want to jeopardize the work and status of the organization itself, or ultimately its sustainability. The second area is in lobbying, or very broadly defined, advocating for legislative change. This is an area where I regularly see strategy and compliance conversations happening asynchronously, and it should stop. Here's why. Even if you can lobby as an organization, you still need to make sure that you have the capacity to lobby effectively. And I want to flag that it's more than just the highly visible lobbying work that should be considered. It's also all of the behind the scenes work in, for example, planning, reviewing and revising proposals, attending meetings where the proposed activities are being discussed, and you have to accurately account for those activities under both state and federal laws. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. If the people on the team don't understand what lobbying actually is, they can't assess or record their time correctly, they can't review other team members' time or activities appropriately, and any flat fee accounting for these activities will be flawed. And these compliance stumbles and errors can have significant consequences for the organization's sustainability. I mean, you can have a great strategy, but how long will you stay around as an organization when you're in repeated violation of the law? This is why marrying strategy and compliance, not pulling them apart, is so critical. Program team members and compliance teams should work together in the same conversation to advise on how to create a high impact strategy that considers the compliance capacity of the organization. I wanted to use these two areas because they are where I see a significant disconnect between compliance and strategy. But there are so many more examples: risk management, organizational assessments, or state filings. Those considerations should also be part of strategic programmatic decision making. So the next time you sit down at that strategy table, I want you to be the one to say to those around the table, what's the relationship between this strategy and our compliance obligations? Because that's when you transform the conversation into one about creating a sustainable strategy. And that's our fast build. I want to hear how you are thinking about compliance, strategy, and outcomes. I would love to hear from you and about your experience in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful weekend and keep building bravely.